It's time for Recipe of the Day. I make this pretty simple macaroni salad for gatherings when we have people over here. And I have to tell you, people are always asking me for the recipe, which I love. And then I go and I write it down for them. But then, I don't write that much anymore and my hand gets sore and I'm like, gosh, why am I writing this out again? And so I decided it was time to put this recipe on the website, even though it is pretty simple and pretty basic. People want it. You probably want it. So you can get it at the link and then I don't have to get a cramp in my hand writing it out all the time. So I will start by saying that I know that macaroni salad is controversial. There are things that people say must go in it and there are things that people say must not go in it. It is a personal preference thing. It's a family history thing. There are strong opinions and strong preferences. So what I did for this recipe was to give the very basic version without a lot of add-ins, and then you can choose which add-ins you want to put in based on what your family does, what you like, your personal preference. I'm talking add-ins like sweet relish, dill relish, sugar, green bell pepper, shredded carrot, chopped gherkins or pickles, and hard-boiled eggs. Those are some of the optional things that some people strongly believe belong or don't belong in a macaroni salad. So this recipe I have developed to just have the basic version, but then I've tested it with all the optional ones, different combinations of them, all of them in, some of them in, and it works in all of those variations. So whichever things you want to add in, you can go for it and make this your own perfect macaroni salad for you. I'm going to start telling you how to make this in just a second, but I'll let you know that as we go, I'm going to be giving you some tips for making really creamy, delicious macaroni salad, no matter what recipe you're using. You're going to start by cooking a pound of elbow macaroni according to the package instructions, being sure to salt the water well. 1 pound is about 3 cups. So if you have an open package, you could start scooping from that and you'll know how much to make. Okay, so that is cooking away till al dente, and then you're going to drain it and you're going to put it in some ice water. So fill a big bowl with ice water, drain your pasta, and then you can just take the whole colander of pasta and put it into that big bowl of cold water and leave it in there while you make the dressing. We want the pasta to be really well chilled because then it's less likely to soak up as much of the salad dressing of the mayonnaise mixture that we're making, and then more of it stays on the outside, keeping it nice and creamy. So let that chill really good in the water while you make the dressing. The basic dressing is a cup of mayonnaise, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard, a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half teaspoon of onion powder. So you're going to mix those things together, but then there are optional things you can also add in there. First, some people like a little sugar in their macaroni salad. You can do 1 to 2 teaspoons of sugar into this dressing. You can also add some relish, 2 tablespoons of sweet or dill relish, but I'm going to tell you that if you're doing the sweet relish, you don't want to add the sugar or you want less. You want at most 1 teaspoon of sugar if you're doing the sweet relish. I will say the dill relish is so good. I first put dill relish in a ham salad recipe a few years ago and it was so tasty, so delicious. I now try it in everything that calls for sweet relish just to see because I like it so much more. So you can do the 2 tablespoons of dill relish or of sweet relish. Just if you're using the sweet, you want to not put very much sugar or don't add any sugar. And the sugar was optional. It's one of those optional add-ins. And then I'll also say if you're not adding any relish at all, neither one, you might want to add a little bit extra of the white vinegar. I said 2 tablespoons, but the little tang that comes from relish is really kind of pronounced in macaroni salad. And if you don't have that relish tang, you might want a little bit of the tang from extra white vinegar. I would say mix up the dressing without the extra vinegar and without the relish and give it a taste. It should be nice and tangy and creamy. If it's not tangy, add that little bit of extra vinegar there. Okay, so now you have made your dressing. What you're going to do is actually measure half of that mixture out of your bowl of dressing, put it in a sealed container and into the fridge. We are going to be using it on this batch of macaroni salad, but not till later. This is really important. What happens when you make macaroni salad is it's best if it gets to sit for a little while in the fridge, a good 2 hours. All the flavors really blend and mingle. The pasta soaks up a little bit of that dressing, not too much because we've chilled it, but a little bit of that dressing. And then it's really, really tasty, but because it soaked up some of that dressing, it's kind of dry. So right before serving, you take your second half of the dressing and you stir that in, and it's going to make it so nice and creamy, extra delicious. That is one of my favorite tips. I do that also with potato salad. Really, really good thing to try. So you've scooped out half the dressing and put it into a container in the fridge. Now at this point, I would say start draining your pasta. So take it out of that bowl of water and really give it a good shake, and then just kind of leave it there hanging out over the sink without the water under it. Let it drain a little more. Give it a shake every now and then. And while you're doing that, you can be prepping your other ingredients. So that is some finely chopped onion, half a cup. You have some options here. I really like green onion in here. You could do red onion or like a sweet Vidalia onion. You want half a cup of either of those. You can also just use some plain white or yellow onion, but it can have quite a bit of a bite, that little harsh flavor to it. So if you're going to use one of those, I recommend that you chop up your half cup of it and then soak it in water for 10 minutes. That really cuts some of that heat. Or you can soak it in some cider vinegar for 10 minutes. That will do the same thing. It'll remove some of the heat, and it also gives just a mild tang, like a mild pickle flavor to the onion. Really, really tasty in the macaroni salad. And you can do that mild pickling with the sweet onion or the red onion too. I wouldn't do it with any green onion though. It's going to make it a little soggy. Okay, so your pasta is draining and you've chopped up some onion. Maybe you're soaking it. You're also going to do 1 rib of celery finely chopped. And then there's the optional ingredients. So you can stop there, or you can also do a half of a green bell pepper finely chopped, and or a half cup of shredded carrot, and or a 1/4 cup of finely chopped gherkins or pickles. You know, I love dill pickles, so those are my choice for this. And then finally, you can add in 2 hard-boiled eggs that you finely chopped. So those are the optional add-ins there. Put those all into a big bowl. Give that pasta one more shake. Get as much water off of it as possible because you don't want to be diluting your dressing with the liquid that's coming from the pasta. You know, it's like inside the macaroni tubes. Okay, give that one more good shake. Get as much water off as you can. Add the pasta to those other ingredients. Top it with the half of the dressing that you did not put into the fridge. Give that a good stir and then cover it and put it in the fridge for at least 2 hours. But you can go as long as 24 hours, even 72 hours. It's not as good after 24 hours, but you know, sometimes you've got to make it ahead. Then just remember before you serve it, you want to add the other half of the dressing and give it a good mix. I'm also going to give you a little tip for serving macaroni salad. Now, you know, it has mayonnaise in it. It shouldn't be sitting out for long, but if I'm doing a big gathering, it's part of that whole like buffet table of food. I don't want it sitting out there for a really long time. What I will do is take half of it and put that into the serving bowl on the table with the other foods and put the other half back in the fridge. And then when I notice that the bowl is running low at the buffet table, I put the other half out. If it's been a while, I'll throw out what's in the bowl left at the buffet table. I just put the fresh one out there. If it hasn't been that long, I'll put one behind the other, like the little bit in front and the bigger one behind. And then people know to take from the first one first, you know? So that is my famous recipe for macaroni salad that everybody always asks me the recipe for. I am giving it to you with a link so I don't have to write it out anymore. And I will put that link in the show notes for this podcast episode. You can get it in the show notes for the podcast episode or head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is April 28th of 2026. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.